Copyright web novel. Chapter 1, Chapter 1, Cold Circuits, New Flesh. Data chip detected. Initiating upload. Upload complete. Where is that sound coming from? Consciousness flickered in the void. Nathan tried to open his eyes, but the command terminated in silence. His eyelids felt non-existent. It was the sensation of a lucid dream, the mind churning sluggishly while the senses remained drowned in a heavy, suffocating darkness. Wasn't I watching a movie? Did I pass out? His final memory was a chaotic blur, a desk cluttered with fried chicken and cola, the glowing monitor playing Transformers, and then, static. The image had dissolved into vertigo. Classic. Worked overtime for a month straight only to crash 5 minutes into my day off. Nathan dismissed it as exhaustion. He mentally sighed, attempting to jolt his limbs awake. Nothing happened. Panic, cold and sharp, began to seep in. No matter how hard he pushed his will against the darkness, he could not feel his hands. He couldn't feel his chest rise or fall. The body he knew was gone. No way. I'm too young to end up as a Karoji statistic on the evening news. Lord Starscream, you have arrived. A sudden voice sliced through the void, arresting Nathan's spiraling thoughts. He suppressed his terror, focusing his audio receptor's ears on the source. The voice was close. It chattered with a bizarre, clicking cadence, the syntax twisted and alien. Nathan was certain of one thing: this was not a human language. Yet, the meaning decoded instantly in his mind. He didn't just understand the words, he felt the sickening layer of sycophancy and terror dripping from them. Starscream? Nathan's mental processes stalled. That's the character from the movie I was watching. Is this a hallucination? Daydreaming about the plot because I fell asleep watching it? Before he could process the absurdity, a second voice cut and shrill, arrogant, and dripping with disdain. Enough, you wretched tentacle bot, get out of my way. Where is Scalpel? Lord Starscream, the master is inside. Scalpel? Nathan's thoughts raced. The Decepticon chief medical officer? The doctor from the movies? He knew the lore. He had watched Transformers until the lines were burned into his memory. Autobots, Decepticons, he knew the players, the politics, the endless war. Clank. 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 Heavy, rhythmic impacts vibrated through the floor, metallic footsteps drawing closer. The dialogue sharpened, the audio resolution clearing. Scalpel. You know why I am here. The shrill voice dropped an octave, menacingly low. I have waited long enough. Tell me my requirements have been met. Zzzz, rest assured, Starscream. The response was a manic, high-pitched rasp. The information chips you requested? I have formatted them into the cerebral modules of this entire batch. Every single drone. Wait until they possess a spark or an energy unit. The moment they activate, they will be the most loyal soldiers you have ever commanded. Excellent, Scalpel. You haven't disappointed me. Look at this. I modified it using Cybertronian storage tech. A concentrated energy core. It should serve as a sufficient substitute for a natural spark. Understood, Starscream. Leave the rest to me. The conversation ceased. Seconds later, the air filled with the clamor of metal striking metal, drills whirring, saws grinding. The noise grew louder, closer. In the darkness, Nathan felt a looming presence. A pressure against his hull. Cerebral modules? Energy cores? What is this insanity? The term information chip sounds familiar, but something feels wrong. My perspective, it's shifting. Warning. Critical surge detected. A piercing alarm shrieked inside his skull. Gah! Nathan's consciousness convulsed. It felt like a spike being driven directly into his brainstem. The pain vanished as quickly as it arrived, replaced instantly by a sterile, emotionless mechanical synthesis voice. Energy core installed. System initializing. Energy core online. What the hell is this? Nathan was bewildered, his irritation spiking. If this is a dream, let me wake up. One thing after another, is there no off switch? As if mocking his internal plea, the cascade of system prompts accelerated, scrolling across his internal vision. Constructing energon conduits. Complete. Opening neural pathways. Complete. Energon flow, stable. System activation imminent. Cerebral module, online. Weapons systems, online. T-cog, online. Servomotor linkage, synchronized. With the final chime, the world slammed into focus. It was not the groggy awakening of a human. It was a sudden, violent clarity. Sensory data flooded in, not the warmth of skin or the smell of air, but the cold hum of hydraulics, the heavy tensile strength of alloy, and the thrum of a reactor spinning up in his chest. The dreamlike haze evaporated. This was real. This metallic weight, this cold power, my body. Nathan, fully lucid, realized he was no longer flesh and blood. Before he could inspect his new form, the HUD flashed again. Unit ID, T22 activated. Executing loyalty protocol. Reading data chip. Something forced its way into his mind. It was invasive, a hardline download of alien data jamming directly into his memory banks. It wasn't human knowledge. It was a stream of jagged, complex Cybertronian glyphs and tactical algorithms. The file size was small, barely a blip compared to the 20-odd years of human memories Nathan retained. It failed to overwrite his personality. But the metadata told him everything he needed to know. He had transmigrated. He was in the Transformers universe. The data scraped from the chip contained basic faction identification: Autobot, Decepticon, and one overriding, hard-coded imperative: loyalty to Starscream. I stayed up late to watch a movie and wound up inside it. And not just inside it, I'm a Decepticon grunt. Unit T22. A mass-produced soldier for the Decepticon cause. In his past life, Nathan was a cog in a corporate machine. He worked, he slept, he consumed media. He had no family, no debts, no anchors. I just wanted to rewatch a classic, he thought, the irony bitter in his processors. Instead, I get to live the reboot. Fine. I'm here. Being a wage slave was slow death. Being a Decepticon? At least the sky is the limit. He adjusted his mental parameters with frightening speed. Denial was inefficient. He had read enough novels to know that panic led to death. How I got here is irrelevant. Survival is the only metric that matters now. And honestly, this world is far more interesting. He had no desire to be human in this universe. In a war between Titan machines, humans were insects. Ants beneath the feet of elephants. To be human here was to pray you didn't get stepped on or crushed by falling masonry. Being a Decepticon had its perks. He was durable. He was armed. But a warning subroutine flagged in his logic center. Decepticons are the villains. And in the movies, villains die. He didn't know if this reality followed the movie script exactly, if the Autobots had plot armor, or if destiny was fluid. He wouldn't bet his life on it. I need to be careful. I am currently a mid-tier warrior. Better than a drone, but mass-produced. And artificial. Artificial. He recalled the conversation he had overheard. My creation wasn't natural. I am a project. Starscream and Scalpel built me. Starscream provided the energy core. Scalpel performed the surgery. He was a tool forged for a coup. A voice boomed through the chamber, confirming his deduction. Look at these little ones. Are they not magnificent? Awake, Decepticons. I am your master. I am Starscream. Nathan processed the audio input. The tone was distinct arrogance mixed with desperation. He seized control of his new motor functions, rerouting power to his optical sensors. Time to face the world. With a sharp mechanical hiss, Nathan's optics flared to life, glowing a menacing, deep red. Chapter 2, Hierarchy of Violence. The secret base was buried deep within an unnamed desert. Inside, a vast chamber of polished silver alloy housed rows of silent, towering figures. They were forged from dark steel and complex composites, their armor absorbing the light rather than reflecting it. Intricate, glowing circuitry traced paths across their chassis, hinting at volatile power dormant within. Though each frame varied slightly in design, they shared a uniform feature on their right shoulders, a stylized emblem of an angular, harsh face. The Decepticon insignia. One of the machines, previously inert, suddenly flared to life. Two crimson points of light ignited deep within its optical sockets. It was the first ripple in a pond. Following its lead, the other units began to sequence online. The silence of the hangar was broken by the rising hum of capacitors charging, the whine of servos engaging, and the heavy thud of metal shifting against metal. It sounded like a heavy industrial assembly line spinning up to maximum output. Is that Starscream? The moment Nathan's optics focused, they locked onto a figure standing apart from the ranks. The design was unmistakable. The sleek, aerodynamic F-22 Raptor components integrated into the robot mode. The spindly, predatory limbs. The triangular, helm-like head. The distinct, inverted triangle torso. It was the Decepticon Air Commander. The traitor. The second in command. Starscream stood motionless, his posture tense, as if waiting for a specific signal or simply basking in his own magnificence. Nathan didn't immediately move. Instead, he analyzed the figure with a mix of awe and apprehension. It's really him. The chassis design is even more vicious in person. But, following the guy famous for backstabbing Megatron? Is this a career opportunity or a death sentence? Nathan processed his situation rapidly. Between the conversation he had overheard during boot-up and the data in his cerebral chip, the conclusion was obvious: he was Starscream's creation. He was a direct subordinate. Starscream was powerful, a commander class, leader of the Seeker Armada. But his fame didn't come from his strength. It came from his ambition. Every Decepticon knew Starscream wanted to usurp Megatron. And Nathan, knowing the script of this universe, knew exactly how that ambition ended. It was always a failure. A delusion. Little one, what are you looking at? The voice cut through Nathan's analysis like a whip. Starscream had been inspecting his new army with satisfaction until he felt a gaze that lingered too long. A gaze that felt judgmental. He turned his head. His optics narrowed on a freshly activated drone that was staring at him. Not with the blank obedience of a machine, but with a look that bordered on disrespect. No reaction? Are your cognitive circuits lagging? When the drone didn't immediately avert its gaze, Starscream's suspicion spiked. He took a step forward. What? Nathan's spark pulsed in alarm. He saw Starscream stalking toward him and realized his mistake too late. Idiot! I was staring. He had forgotten he was no longer watching a movie screen. In the Decepticon ranks, prolonged eye contact wasn't curiosity, it was a challenge. Tell me, little one. Why were you staring at me? Starscream loomed over him. The Air Commander was massive compared to a mid-tier ground unit. His voice dripped with malice. For a Cybertronian who had lived for eons, calling a minutes-old drone little one was a literal statement. Nathan's internal cooling fans spun up to maximum. If he had a human heart, it would have burst. Lord Starscream. Nathan dipped his head, forcing his vocalizer to remain steady. He knew that silence was often the safest defense, but not when a seeker was asking a direct question. Please don't notice anything wrong. Please just be paranoid. Bam! Gah! The prayer died in his vocalizer. A clawed hand shot out, seizing Nathan by the throat cables. The world tilted violently as he was hoisted into the air. With a casual flick of his wrist, Starscream slammed him backward. Crash! Nathan's chassis collided with the reinforced wall. Scree! Metal shrieked against metal as he slid, sparks showering the floor like fireworks. Warning, impact detected. Integrity compromised, torso plating. His HUD went red. A combat interface strikingly similar to a first-person shooter game snapped into place, highlighting the damage vectors. Clack! Instinct took over. Nathan's right arm shifted, panels sliding back to deploy a heavy-caliber blaster. He raised it, targeting the threat. But then he met Starscream's eyes. Cold. Dead. Utterly devoid of mercy. Nathan froze. He forced his targeting computer to disengage. He forced the weapon to retract. Don't shoot. Decepticons don't do mercy. If I fight back, he shreds me. Starscream watched the hesitation. A cruel smirk twisted his faceplates. He thrived on hierarchy, on the absolute submission of those beneath him. A drone that knew its place was a useful drone. You know, little one. Starscream leaned in, his breath venting hot exhaust against Nathan's face. The way you looked at me. I found it very unpleasant. Nathan remained silent, projecting an aura of total submission. He had just arrived in this universe, he wasn't planning on checking out 5 minutes later. Well. Starscream tightened his grip. Hydraulic pressure crushed against Nathan's neck struts. You still haven't answered. Why? Were you staring? Ugh! The light in Nathan's optics flickered uncontrollably. He finally understood why the robots in the movies groaned when hit. It wasn't sound effects. It was pain. His sensors were screaming, transmitting the crushing pressure as genuine agony. He had to answer. A wrong word meant scrap metal. A desperate idea sparked in his processor. Forgive me, Lord Starscream. I do not understand what you are saying. You don't understand. Starscream's smirk widened, revealing jagged teeth. Hat. You better not be lying to me, little one. Lord Starscream. I truly do not understand. Starscream scrutinized him. His red optics scanned Nathan's frame, lingering on his chest casing where the energy core hummed. Finally, he seemed to lose interest. Good. Keep it that way. You know the consequences of deception. He released his grip. Nathan dropped to the floor, metal scraping harshly. Safe. He vented a burst of hot air. He hadn't been gambling blindly. He knew that artificially created Decepticons were viewed as simple tools. They had learning algorithms, but fresh out of the tank, they were expected to be blank slates. As long as I play the idiot, he won't suspect I'm smart. But before his systems could stabilize, Starscream's voice returned. But tell me, little one, how should I discipline you for the annoyance? What? Nathan looked up sharply. Wham! Ah! The world spun again. He was airborne. I didn't even transform into a jet. How am I flying? He wasn't flying. He had been kicked. He tumbled through the air, crashing into the far corner of the room with a thunderous thud. Minor damage detected. Auto repair initiated. Mother of Starscream, you son of a... Nathan lay in a heap, his internal monologue unleashing a stream of profanity that would have made a sailor blush. He groaned, his servos whining as he pushed himself upright. He retracted his weapon, shaking the dizziness from his gyroscope. The floor was pristine. Not a scratch. His armor, however, was dented. So this is the Decepticon life. I looked at him wrong, and he threw me into a wall. The reality of his situation crashed down on him harder than the impact. He had been naive. He had looked at Starscream with the eyes of a fan, of someone who knew the plot. Subconsciously, he had felt superior because he knew the future. Starscream had sensed that arrogance. It's like staring at a tiger in a zoo, forgetting that the glass is gone. I have to change. Nathan's optics dimmed as he recalibrated his personality subroutines. No more God's eye view. No more fanboying. If I don't treat this world with the terror it deserves, the next time I hit a wall, I won't get up. Chapter 3, A Game of Giants. Scalpel. Are you absolutely certain there are no errors in the information chips? The sudden question made Nathan's processor stutter. Again? Seriously? The previous backhand from Starscream had already rattled his gyroscope. His new frame wasn't even fully calibrated yet, another hit might permanently scramble his cerebral module. Fortunately, Nathan's paranoia was unfounded. Starscream wasn't looking at him. From the shadows near the floor, a voice answered. "Zez, relax, Starscream. There won't be any problems." The speaker scuttled into the light. It was Scalpel, the chief medical officer, a spider-like minicon barely the size of a basketball. He was currently crawling over the inert chassis of another drone, his multiple optical lenses zooming in and out with clinical indifference. "I designed and coded these chips myself. Do you doubt my technique?" Valid point, Starscream conceded, his wings twitching. Units T-18 through T-25 were constructed using local materials from this planet. The T-cogs are from old inventory, but they should function within acceptable parameters. Starscream's suspicion evaporated, replaced by his usual theatrical self-pity. Damned wretched planet! He kicked at a loose piece of scrap. "Ever since I followed Lord Megatron's signal to this dirt ball, I have been alone. Doing everything myself. Like a common laborer." He paced, venting his frustration to the empty air. "But those days are over. With T-18 and the others online, I won't have to sully my hands with." In his corner, Nathan let his internal cooling system cycle down. The rock in his chest, metaphorically speaking, finally settled. He's exactly like the movies. Starscream was a volatile cocktail of treachery, arrogance, and insecurity. Paranoid one second, gloating the next. I survived the mood swing. That's step one. With the sword of Damocles no longer hanging over his head, Nathan ran a diagnostic. The damage from the wall impact was negligible. The nanites in his armor had already buffed out the dent. It was impressive. The ability to self-repair using internal energy was a biological marvel he was still getting used to. Energy core. He placed a metallic hand over his chest plating. He didn't have a spark. He had a battery. He checked his HUD. If his energy was at 100% upon activation, it now read 98%. 1% lost to repair, 1% to basic motor functions. It makes sense, he mused. The movies only showed the explosions. But behind the scenes, Starscream had to be building an army. You don't conquer a planet without grunts. Starscream was still ranting. Nathan rotated his neck, verifying the servos were fully operational, and cast a covert glance at the air commander. "A gentleman waits 10 years for revenge. Well, I'm a Decepticon now, so I'd prefer to take revenge immediately. But the math doesn't work." He was a middle-tier warrior. A trooper. Starscream was a commander-tier warrior. The gap wasn't just skill, it was raw stats. Thanks to the data chip, Nathan finally understood the precise hierarchy of Cybertronian power. It answered questions he'd debated on forums in his past life. Why could Optimus Prime and Megatron dominate the battlefield? It wasn't just leadership. It was horsepower. The hierarchy was divided into 7 distinct tiers. Junior Warrior, Scout/Drone, Middle Warrior, Trooper, Senior Warrior, Elite, Elite Warrior, Lieutenant, Commander Class, Leader Class, Warlord/Prime, Supreme Class, the Ancients/Primes. The bottom two tiers, Junior and Middle, were the fodder. Cannon fodder. To be considered a real Cybertronian threat, one had to reach Senior Warrior status. This ranking applied to combat frames. Industrial drones or mining units didn't even make the list, a Junior Warrior could scrap them by the dozen. But rank was nuanced. Take Soundwave's cassette minions Rumble, Frenzy, Laserbeak. They might physically rank low in raw power, but their utility and status within the Decepticon High Command placed them far above a standard trooper like Nathan. And then there were the outliers, Combiners. The construct icons forming Devastator. Individually, they might be senior or elite, but combined? Their power surged to leader class, sometimes even rivaling a prime in raw destructive output. Starscream was one of the three great Decepticon commanders. The other two were Soundwave, Intelligence, and Shockwave, military operations/science. Above them sat only one mechanism, Megatron, leader class. Opposing them, Optimus Prime, leader class. It was a pyramid scheme of violence. A commander fighting an elite wasn't a duel, it was a beatdown. A commander fighting a middle warrior like Nathan? I'd get 3 moves in. Maximum. And that's assuming I attack first. If Starscream shoots first, I'm scrapped before I can load my weapon. 3 tiers of difference. It's not a fight, it's an execution. That was why Nathan was standing here quietly, listening to Starscream whine, instead of putting a hole in his back. As for the Supreme Class, the data chip was vague, but Nathan knew the lore. This tier belonged to the 13 primes. Specifically, the Fallen. Megatronus Prime. In the movies, it took 6 primes to imprison him. He was the only Decepticon who outranked Megatron. Even in his weakened state, he was a monster. Is the Fallen hiding in the Nemesis somewhere in the solar system right now? A thought crossed Nathan's mind. Should I try to bypass Starscream and pledge loyalty to the big boss? No. Too risky. The Fallen is an ancient, hate-filled demigod. I'm a mass-produced knockoff holding a blaster. I walk into his throne room, he probably crushes me just to test his gravity powers. Starscream is dangerous, but he's predictable. I can manipulate ego. I can't manipulate a god. Better to stay small for now. Chapter 4, Disposable Numbers. Pushing the thought of the Fallen aside for the moment, Nathan took stock of his surroundings. The room was vast, at least 1,000 square meters of cold, polished steel. It wasn't just a hangar, it was a laboratory. Nearby stood Starscream and a row of Decepticons similar in build to Nathan. Further away, the unfortunate drone that had failed to activate properly lay prone on the floor, with Scalpel crawling over its chassis like a parasite, tapping and probing. Scalpel. Nathan recognized the archetype. In the movies, he was a minor character, but here, he was clearly the brains behind this operation. Scattered around the room were consoles, displays, and glass containment units. Inside some of the tanks, mechanical arms suspended biological specimens, parts of Earth animals, and perhaps even humans. It was a grotesque fusion of biology and mechanics. Definitely Scalpel's lab Cybertronians live for millions of years, of course the medics double as mad scientists. As he scanned the room, Nathan's gaze inevitably fell upon his own reflection in the mirror-polished walls. It was terrifying. A towering humanoid machine, forged from dark, jagged metal. His face was a mask of malice, dominated by glowing red optics that burned with demonic intensity. His silhouette was sharp, aggressive, and devoid of any vehicle mode softness. No wonder Decepticons are the villains. Nathan felt a dry amusement. I don't judge a book by its cover, but if I walked down the street like this, the police wouldn't ask for ID. They'd call the National Guard. He looked nothing like the heroic, brightly colored Autobots. He looked like a nightmare made of steel. 9 meters tall, at least. just a head shorter than Starscream. He towered over humans, but he knew better than to equate size with power. Copeman was human-sized but could break fingers like twigs. Micronus Prime was a mini-con but held the power of a god. Size is just intimidation. Power is in the spark, or in my case, the core. Still, being 9 meters tall had advantages. It was easier to crush tanks. But looking at his reflection, a darker thought intruded. This planet, Earth, it has a debuff aura. In the movies, Cybertronians who survived eons of civil war would land on Earth and die within days. Megatron, Optimus, they all died and resurrected like it was a hobby. Earth was a graveyard for his kind. T-22. Why are you just standing there? The barked command snapped Nathan back to reality. Starscream was glaring at him, gesturing impatiently. T-22? Nathan processed the designation. Right. The boot sequence called me that. I don't even get a name. Just a serial number. Classic cannon fodder treatment. Suppressing a sigh, Nathan walked over to the line. He took his place. To his left were units T-19 through T-21. To his right, T-23 through T-25. 6 other Decepticons. They looked similar, rugged, ugly, mass-produced. As for T-18? He glanced at the unmoving hulk on the floor being dissected by scalpel. Rest in peace, brother. The 6 standing beside him were silent. Perfectly still. They didn't fidget. They didn't look around. They stared straight ahead, awaiting orders. They're lobotomized. Nathan realized the truth instantly. The information chips worked perfectly on them. They are exactly what Scalpel promised, loyal, mindless soldiers. That explains why the drones in the movies always charge into Autobot fire. They aren't brave. They're programmed. High-ranking Decepticons don't see us as people. We're ammo. It was a grim epiphany. The Cybertronian Civil War had raged for 7,000 years. Both sides had run out of soldiers long ago. The solution? Mass production. Build them cheap. Build them fast. Throw them at the enemy until the enemy runs out of bullets. I'm at the bottom of the food chain, Nathan thought. A constructed cold Decepticon. No spark, no soul, just code and metal. In the golden age of Cybertron, I'd be working a conveyor belt next to Orion Pax. But here? In the middle of a war? I'm just a number waiting to be subtracted. Starscream paced before the line of 7 functioning drones, T-22 included, his red eyes gleaming with satisfaction. 7 warriors. Acceptable. He didn't know that one of them was faking it. Nathan stiffened his posture, mimicking the mindless obedience of T-21 beside him. If he finds out I have free will, he'll have Scalpel open my brain case to fix the bug. For now, I am T-22. The Loyal Soldier. Chapter 5, Spare Parts. Starscream strode across the lab, stopping beside the prone form of T-18. He addressed the small doctor without preamble. Scalpel. Was it the energy core rejection, or a hardware failure? Despite his vanity, Starscream was a scientist by trade. He knew machines. Patience, Starscream. I'm still diagnosing. Scalpel didn't look up. He continued tapping T-18's chest plating with a metallic claw. Reedman is already inside. We'll know in a moment. Nathan watched from his place in the line, fascinated by the dynamic. Scalpel, a mere mini-con, spoke to the air commander with zero deference. He was dismissive, almost rude. Yet Starscream tolerated it. Is Scalpel more than just a medic? Nathan wondered. Or is good healthcare just that hard to find in the Decepticon army? He entertained the wild theory that Scalpel might be a headmaster or an ancient Micron, but dismissed it. Occam's razor suggested Starscream just needed Scalpel too much to kill him. Starscream, bored with waiting, began to wander the lab. He inspected monitors, tapped on glass tanks, and muttered to himself. As he turned, Nathan caught a glimpse of something on Starscream's upper left chest chassis, a tiny red light blinking with rapid, frantic frequency. A signal? A tracker? Before he could analyze it, Scalpel's voice cut through the air. Starscream. It's done. A creature scuttled out of T-18's open chest cavity. It was razor-thin, insect-like, and moved with a fluid, terrifying grace. Reedman. The espionage specialist. Reedman chattered a stream of binary to Scalpel, then dissolved into a pile of metallic microbeads. He's scrap, Scalpel announced, shaking his head. According to Reedman, T-18 suffered a critical surge during the data upload. The conflict between the information chip and his internal BIOS fried his cerebral module. Total system failure. Nathan stiffened. Brain death. If the brain is fried, strip the body, Starscream said coldly. His jagged teeth clicked together. I gathered those materials myself. Do not waste them. Agreed. Scalpel cackled. I prefer brain surgery, but autopsies are fun too. Strip the body? A chill ran through Nathan's coolant lines. T-18 was essentially his brother. They were built from the same batch, activated minutes apart. And now, because of a software bug, he was being parted out like a stolen car. The success rate wasn't 100%. Nathan realized how lucky he was. If his download had glitched, he would be the one on the floor right now, with Scalpel drooling over his spare parts. T-19. T-20. Dismantle him. Yes, Lord Starscream. Two of the drones next to Nathan stepped forward. Careful, you idiots! Scalpel yelled, hopping onto T-18's shoulder. Don't damage the T-cog. Cut here. Save the weapon module. Ryeb. Clang. The sounds of tearing metal filled the room. T-19 and T-20 worked with brutal efficiency. They ripped plating from the chassis, disconnected servos, and piled components on the floor. Starscream watched impassively. To him, this wasn't a funeral. It was inventory management. Nathan watched in silence. The brutality of the Decepticon cause was being demonstrated in 4K resolution right in front of him. If I don't want to end up like T-18, I need power. And I need it now. His mind raced, pulling up his knowledge of the timeline. The Allspark. The Cube. The source of all Cybertronian life. It was currently sitting in a cryogenic bunker inside the Hoover Dam, guarded by the humans of Sector 7. Starscream doesn't know where it is yet. He hasn't found Megatron either. Nathan recalled Starscream's earlier rant about being alone. That meant Barricade, Blackout, and the others hadn't arrived on Earth yet. It's just us. Starscream, Scalpel, and a handful of drones. This was the calm before the storm. The plot hadn't started. If I can get to the Allspark, the cube could create worlds. It could turn a Nokia phone into a killing machine. What could it do for a middle-tier warrior? It could evolve me. If he could touch the Allspark, he might jump from middle-tier to senior, or even elite. He wouldn't have to fear being scrapped for parts. But getting into Sector 7 is the problem. The Hoover Dam was a fortress. And worse, if he touched the cube, the energy surge would alert everyone: Autobots, Decepticons, and the US military. He would become public enemy number one. But if I succeed? Nathan looked at the pile of scrap that used to be T-18. The alternative is waiting for Starscream to decide I've outlived my usefulness. He made his decision. I'm going to steal the power of God. While he plotted, T-19 and T-20 finished their work. T-18 was gone. In his place was a neat stack of recyclable alloys. Nathan's sensors picked up a faint, rhythmic signal emanating from T-19 and T-20. Pleasure. They were enjoying the violence. The destruction of their kin gave them a chemical rush. Nathan watched them with cold, glowing eyes. I am surrounded by monsters. Good thing I know how to be one. Chapter 6, 3 Days in Hell. Zee perfect. Nothing wasted. Scalpel bobbed his head in delight, surveying the disassembled remains of T-18. It was unclear if he was happy about the recycling or just the sheer act of taking something apart. Starscream. Your energy core. Scalpel pointed a claw at a blue, pulsating sphere rolling on the floor. Nathan tracked the object. It was small, easily held in a human hand, yet it radiated power. The surface was mirror-smooth crystal, deep azure, with arcs of lightning crackling beneath the surface. So that's the substitute spark. It wasn't a true spark, it lacked the divine, living essence of Primus, but it was a potent battery. Lord Starscream. Your property. T-19, ever the eager sycophant, scooped up the core and presented it to the Air Commander. Starscream took it, holding it up to the light like a jewel. Good. Intact, he sneered. I'll use it for the next batch. Waste not, want not. To Starscream, a middle-tier warrior was less valuable than a rechargeable battery. As for the scrap, Starscream kicked at the pile of T-18's limbs. He bent down and plucked a small, complex mechanism from the mess. Scalpel, I'm taking the T-cog. You can have the rest for your little experiments. Consider it a bonus. Zee understood, Starscream. Scalpel didn't argue. He was practically vibrating with excitement. I've been wanting to compare Earth metals with Cybertronian alloys. This is excellent test data. Humph. Starscream's optics narrowed. Just remember, Scalpel. You still owe me an information chip. Relax, Starscream. 3 days. Give me 3 Earth days, and I will code a replacement. Information chips? Nathan listened intently. So Scalpel isn't just a medic, he's a software engineer. And their relationship is purely transactional. Fine, Starscream growled. In 3 days, I expect results. He turned to leave. Come, Decepticons. Finally. Nathan's spark surged with hope. We're leaving. Leaving the lab meant leaving the base. Leaving the base meant opportunities. He needed to scout the terrain, find a computer terminal, maybe even slip away to locate the Hoover Dam. Wait. Scalpel's voice shattered Nathan's optimism. I have a condition. Starscream paused, his wings flaring in irritation. What now, you wretched bug? I need an assistant, Scalpel said flatly. I didn't back up the source code for the information chip. The original was fried inside T-18's skull. I need a live subject with the chip installed to reverse engineer the data. Otherwise, 3 days isn't enough. Scalpel's large, bulbous eyes swiveled toward the line of drones. Nathan felt a cold dread settle in his tank. Don't pick me. Don't pick me. I'm terrible at coding. I warn you, Scalpel. Do not play games with me. Just pick one. Scalpel snapped. He raised a claw and pointed directly at Nathan. Him. T-22. I need T-22. Take the rest. Fuck. Nathan cursed his luck. Did I buy a lottery ticket in a past life? Why me? Starscream glanced at Nathan, then shrugged. Very well. T-22, you remain here. Assist Scalpel. I will retrieve you in 3 days. Yes, Lord Starscream. Nathan bowed his head, hiding the grimace on his faceplate. Resistance was impossible. Hiss. The heavy blast doors of the lab slid open. Starscream led the other 6 drones out into a long metallic corridor. As the doors began to close, a text message suddenly overlaid Nathan's vision. It wasn't spoken, it was a direct, encrypted transmission beamed straight into his cerebral cortex. Encrypted channel open, Starscream. Message, watch Scalpel. If he does anything suspicious in the next 3 days, report it to me immediately. Nathan froze. The message vanished as quickly as it appeared. He looked up, but the doors had already sealed. Starscream was gone. A spy mission? Nathan's processor word. Starscream doesn't trust Scalpel. He thinks the doctor is plotting something. Or maybe he's just paranoid. It is Starscream, after all. Regardless, Nathan was now trapped. He was stuck in a lab with a mad scientist, tasked with being a double agent for a paranoid warlord. Great. Just great. He analyzed his options. If I report nothing, Starscream might think I'm incompetent. If I report too much, Scalpel might dissect me. The best play is malicious compliance. I'll watch him. But unless Scalpel tries to blow up the planet or uninstall my head, I didn't see anything. He turned to the small, spider-like Decepticon. He decided to play the role of the loyal, slightly dim-witted soldier. Lord Scalpel, Nathan said, his voice smooth and respectful. How may I assist you? Scalpel stared at him, his optical lenses dilating. 3 days, Nathan thought. I just have to survive 3 days. Chapter 7, Soundwave's Eyes. Assist. Scalpel paused in his work, his multi-lensed optics rotating to focus on Nathan. He seemed genuinely amused by the drone's naivete. "Zez, if you are so eager to help, then come with me." "Yes, Lord Scalpel." Nathan followed the small doctor across the lab to a large, rectangular metal platform. The entire base was a testament to Cybertronian aesthetics, cold, angular, and made entirely of metal. It felt less like a home and more like the inside of an engine block. Scalpel hopped onto the control console. "Reedman. Here, Master. Deploy the diagnostic table. At once." With a heavy thunk hiss, the metal platform split down the middle and expanded. Mechanical arms and sensor arrays unfolded from underneath, transforming the slab into a high-tech medical berth. "It looks like a bed," Nathan muttered, a sudden unease prickling his sensors. "Lie down, little one," Scalpel ordered, adjusting a terrifying-looking laser drill attached to one of the arms. "Since I built this lab, this table has never been used. You should feel honored. You are the first Decepticon to grace it." Nathan's facial plates twitched. "Honored? I'd rather be lucky than honored. I thought I was here to write code," Nathan lamented internally. "I thought I was the IT guy. Turns out, I'm the lab rat." Lying supine on the cold metal slab, watching Scalpel crawl across his chest like a metallic spider, Nathan felt a profound sense of resignation. If he ever met T-19 again, the conversation would be humiliating. "Me, I worked closely with Scalpel on classified research." "T-19, wow. What did you research?" "Me, my insides." Scalpel had clarified the situation quickly. He didn't need help coding. He needed a live test subject to stress test Starscream's energy core. Nathan had tried to refuse. Being a guinea pig for a mad scientist was rule number 1 of how to die in sci-fi. But Scalpel had made an offer he couldn't refuse, a free armor upgrade. Plus, the promise that he would only test the core, not dissect the brain. Elsewhere in the base, Starscream marched down the main arterial corridor. The base was a labyrinth of tunnels dug deep underground, hidden from human satellites. He reached a reinforced blast door at the end of the hall. He keyed in a security code. Clang! The doors parted. Inside was a stasis chamber, filled with vertical racks. Starscream led T-19 through T-25 inside. Minutes later, the Air Commander emerged alone. The doors sealed behind him, locking his new army in cold storage until he needed them. Back in the lab, Nathan lay motionless. 2 thick data cables were jacked directly into his chest port, snaking away to a bank of monitors. It had been 2 hours. Scalpel was typing furiously on a console, his eyes darting between screens. Starscream actually pulled it off. Scalpel muttered to himself, analyzing the readouts. The output is lower than a natural spark, but the energy density is comparable to a middle-tier spark. No wonder it successfully activated these drones. Scalpel's internal processor whirred with conflict. He wasn't just a doctor. He was a mole. Before leaving Cybertron, Soundwave had tasked him with monitoring Starscream. If Starscream has a viable mass production method, Soundwave needs to know. But with these new soldiers, Starscream will be harder to track. And I still haven't found Black Arachnia's signal. Scalpel glanced at the drone on the table. A devious idea began to form in his logic circuits. Ugh, why do I feel cold? Nathan shivered. A phantom chill was spreading through his limbs. He looked around. Nothing but the doctor and his screens. Above the console, a 3D hologram displayed a rotating blue sphere surrounded by walls of cascading data. Warning! Energy levels critical. Source: external drain. Here we go again. Nathan dismissed the notification. It had been popping up for 2 hours. But this time, the sensation was different. He felt hollow. Weak. It was a strange sensation for a machine. It wasn't fatigue, it was a lack of fuel. His reactor was sputtering. Lord Scalpel, Nathan called out weakly. I am detecting a significant drop in operational efficiency. My energy core is running low. Low already. Scalpel checked the monitor. By the Allspark, less than 30%. Scalpel scoffed. ZEZE Starscream's little battery has terrible capacity. 30%. Nathan panicked. Lord Scalpel, perhaps we should pause for a recharge. Don't worry, little one. Scalpel hopped onto Nathan's chest and yanked the cables out. I need you powered to continue the test. If you shut down, I get no data. Thump. The disconnect brought instant relief. The draining sensation stopped. Get up. Nathan sat up, his servos whining in protest. ZEZE, once you are recharged, we continue. As you command. Nathan agreed, though internally he was screaming. Reedman. Here, Master. Fetch 2 energon cubes from storage. At once. Nathan watched as the razor-thin Reedman materialized from the shadows again. That thing is terrifying, Nathan noted. Useful, but terrifying. He wondered if he could ask Scalpel how to build one. Or better yet, steal the blueprints. Chapter 8, Mask Off. Master, the energon is here. Reedman scuttled back into the light, dragging a small anti-gravity cart behind him. On top sat 2 glowing cubes. Reedman was too small to carry them himself. Intelligence aside, physics was physics. But as a sentient being, he knew how to use tools. Is that energon? As the cart drew closer, Nathan felt a sudden, violent hunger erupt in his core. It wasn't like human hunger, it was a desperate, clawing void in his reactor. It was the feeling of a starving man seeing a banquet. His instincts screamed, consume. He slid off the medical berth, ignoring protocol. He reached down and grabbed one of the cubes. It was no larger than a human lunchbox, but it felt heavy, dense with potential energy. Energon. The lifeblood of Cybertron. Humans ate food, Cybertronians drank energy. But drinking was a simplification. They processed high-yield energy condensed into liquid or plasma form. On Earth, Decepticons harvested raw resources: oil, coal, geothermal heat, and refined them into this glowing blue substance. The cube was just the containment vessel. Inside, the plasma swirled like liquid lightning. Nathan shook the cube. The blue light cast dancing shadows on his faceplate. It's beautiful. He realized now why Cybertronians bled different colors. It was just leaking fuel. Blue meant healthy. Clear or colorless meant you were running on fumes. Right now, Nathan was running on fumes. This was converted from geothermal vents. It took weeks to refine, Scalpel warned, his tone stingy. I only have 2. Don't be greedy. Just get your core above 50%. Scalpel looked pained just handing it over. In a post-war universe with the Allspark lost, energon was more precious than gold. Thank you, Lord Scalpel. Nathan didn't wait. He popped the seal on the cube. Gulp. 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 He tipped his head back and downed the plasma. He didn't care about rationing. He didn't care about 50%. He was starving. If I don't drink it now, who knows when I'll get another chance. Scalpel might change his mind. The liquid energy hit his intake systems like ice-cold water on a scorching day. It was euphoric. His sensors sharpened. His servos hummed with renewed torque. The warning icons on his HUD vanished one by one. It was the best thing he had ever tasted. Stop! Stop! Scalpel was hopping up and down, waving his claws in a panic. Put it down! You gluttonous heavy lifter! Nathan ignored him until the cube was empty. He lowered the translucent container, only a few drops remained at the bottom. By the Allspark! Scalpel shrieked. You drank the whole thing. In one breath. Nathan looked down. The cube was indeed empty. Oops! You moron! I said 50%. Who told you to drain it dry? Scalpel looked ready to commit murder. He wasn't Starscream, he didn't have unlimited resources. These 2 cubes were his personal stash, hidden from the commander. And this grunt just chugged half of his savings. Nathan gave an apologetic shrug. I apologize, Lord Scalpel. It was my first fueling. I lost control. Sorry, not sorry. His energy core read 100%. He was fully charged. It was worth the scolding. Scalpel looked at the second cube on the cart, then back at Nathan. Panic flared in his eyes. You! Don't even think about it. Nathan glanced at the second cube. No, no, Lord Scalpel. I am full. Humph. Scalpel turned to his minion. Reedman. Take that cube away. Hide it. Hide it where no one can find it. Especially not him. At once, Master. Reedman glared at Nathan with his multiple red eyes, then dragged the remaining cube into the darkness. Nathan snorted internally. Stingy bug. But with the energon gone, Scalpel's mood shifted. The rage evaporated, replaced by a cold, calculating curiosity. He climbed up a nearby instrument tower until he was level with Nathan's head. His yellow optics whirred, zooming in and out. Little one, Scalpel said softly. You are smart. And you are a very good actor. Nathan froze. Actor? Does he know I drank it on purpose? He lowered his head. I'm sorry, Lord Scalpel. I didn't mean to. No, no, no. Scalpel leaped from the tower, landing directly on Nathan's shoulder. His claw tapped against Nathan's audio receptor. I'm not talking about the fuel. He leaned in close, his voice a conspiratorial whisper. Little one. You can fool Starscream. He is blinded by his own ego. But you cannot fool me. I know what you are. You are different from T-19 and the others. Nathan's spark skipped a beat. His cooling fans stalled. He knows. Does he know I'm a transmigrator? Or just that I have free will? Nathan kept his faceplate neutral, but his processor was running combat simulations. Can I kill him before he alerts the base? Lord Scalpel, Nathan said slowly, feigning confusion. I do not understand. Why am I different? We are all Decepticons. Ha ha. Scalpel laughed, a grating, metallic sound right in Nathan's ear. Don't play dumb. No newborn drone would dare look at their master the way you looked at Starscream. Nathan stiffened. It was the stare. The same stare that got him slapped into a wall. Starscream had interpreted it as disrespect. Scalpel had interpreted it as intelligence. A programmed drone stares at nothing, Scalpel whispered. You stared at him with judgment. You have a mind of your own, T-22. Don't you? Chapter 9, the ninth variable. Lord Scalpel, I think there has been a misunderstanding. I don't recall. Enough, little one. Stop pretending. It's getting tiresome. Nathan tried to explain, but Scalpel cut him off, crawling over his head to perch on his left shoulder. Fine. I'll bite. Nathan decided to pivot. Lord Scalpel, I admit I am confused. Please explain. He was genuinely curious. He didn't believe for a second that Scalpel had deduced his origin as a transmigrator. That was metaphysically impossible for a machine to scan. Zez little one, you know I coded the information chips for you and the others, yes. Yes, Lord Scalpel. What neither you nor Starscream know is that one of those chips was special. Scalpel's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper, his mandibles clicking with glee. Of the 8 chips, I altered one. I removed the hard-coded loyalty protocols to Starscream. The drone with that chip would have free will. It wouldn't be a slave. So, little one, do you understand now? Oh. Nathan's processor stalled for a microsecond. He thinks I'm his experiment. He thinks the reason I stared at Starscream wasn't because I'm a human soul in a robot body, but because his code worked. I see. Nathan said slowly, feigning a dawn of realization. Internally, however, he was laughing nervously. That explains everything. But wait. I definitely received the loyalty command. The HUD flashed loyalty to Starscream in big red letters. I just chose to ignore it. Which means I'm not the sabotage drone. The real rogue unit is either T-18, who is dead, or one of the 6 idiots currently in stasis. But Nathan wasn't about to correct him. This was the perfect cover. So, Nathan asked carefully, you believe the chip in my cerebral module is the modified one? Idiot. Of course. Scalpel rapped his knuckles on Nathan's helm. If you had the standard chip, you would have bowed and scraped like T-19. Only a unit with free will would dare to stare down a commander. Zez though, it did cost you a beating. My apologies for that. Nathan didn't mind the apology. He was too busy processing the implications. Lord Scalpel, if you coded the chips, wouldn't you know which one was modified before installing it? You think Starscream is a fool? Scalpel scoffed. He inspected every chip. To pass his audit, I couldn't mark the hardware. They looked identical. I mixed them up during installation to maintain plausible deniability. I had no idea which body the rogue code ended up in. Scalpel looked at Nathan with something akin to pride. Until you looked at him. So Starscream is paranoid, and Scalpel is treacherous. And I'm the lucky beneficiary of a comedy of errors. Lord Scalpel, Nathan whispered, leaning in. Is it safe to discuss this here? What if Starscream is listening? Ha! Relax. Scalpel waved a claw dismissively. This lab is shielded. If I couldn't block Starscream's sensors in my own home, I would have been scrap metal eons ago. Good to know. Nathan relaxed. If the room was a Faraday cage, he could speak freely. In that case, when Starscream left, he sent me a message. He decided to gamble. Trust was a currency, and he needed to buy in. A brainwave transmission. He ordered me to watch you. Scalpel didn't look surprised. He looked vindicated. Of course he did. Brainwave comms, short range, undetectable, direct to the cortex. Typical Starscream cowardice. Scalpel laughed. He's terrified I'll betray him. Which, of course, I already have. Nathan filed away the technical data. Brainwave comms. Good for secrets, bad for range. It was distinct from standard UHF, ultra-high frequency, radio, which worked like a chat room, or quantum encryption, which worked like secure email. Brainwave was telepathy for machines. So, Scalpel said, jumping down to the console. You are my rogue unit. You are my secret. And now, you are my spy. He looked up at Nathan. Starscream thinks you work for him. But you exist because of me. Where does your loyalty lie, T-22? Nathan looked down at the tiny doctor. He wasn't loyal to either of them. He was loyal to survival. But for now, the doctor offered better perks. My loyalty lies with the one who gives me energon, Nathan said smoothly. Zee, good answer. Scalpel turned back to his screen. Now, get back on the table. We have work to do. Chapter 10, Monkey King of Cybertron. Little one, before Starscream even set foot in my lab today, I scanned your entire batch. Scalpel waved a claw dismissively. I found no trackers, no hidden bombs, no secondary overrides. Starscream is arrogant. He believes his presence alone is enough to command loyalty. He wouldn't bother with backup plans for what he considers disposable tools. No trackers? Nathan let out a virtual sigh of relief. Thank Primus. My body is my own. It seems I worried too much, Nathan said, allowing his posture to relax. Thank you, Lord Scalpel. Zee, you are quite polite for a Decepticon, Scalpel noted, eyeing him curiously. Most of our kind would rather shoot you than thank you. Nathan stiffened. Right. Too human. He quickly pivoted. I am simply pragmatic. You saved me from paranoia. That is worth gratitude. Humph, whatever. Scalpel hopped down from his shoulder. Lord Scalpel, Nathan asked, pressing his luck. If I may, why did you sabotage the chip? What is your goal? Scalpel paused. He looked at Nathan, his optical shutters narrowing. You want to know why? First, tell me, why is Starscream on this mudball of a planet? Nathan hesitated. Is it not, to find Lord Megatron? Yes. And no. Scalpel began to pace. 100 years ago, Megatron vanished. He chased the Allspark signal to this sector and went silent. The Decepticon High Command Shockwave, Soundwave, and Starscream realized something was wrong. Nathan listened, cross-referencing this with his movie knowledge. Megatron crashed in the Arctic. Sector 7 found him and kept him on ice. Meanwhile, Sentinel Prime crashed on the Moon with the space bridge pillars. Nathan knew the full picture, the secret deal between Megatron and Sentinel. The plan to enslave humanity to rebuild Cybertron. But Scalpel didn't know about Sentinel. He only knew the Decepticon side of the story. When the cat is away, the monkey tries to be king, Scalpel scoffed. Nathan bit back a correction. Ideally, it's when the tiger is away, but sure, monkey works. For decades, Starscream tried to seize the throne, Scalpel continued, his voice dripping with contempt. He preened, he made speeches, he tried to rally the Seekers. But he is a fool. A commander class cannot replace a leader class. Megatron ruled through power. Starscream rules through tantrums. Eventually, Shockwave and Soundwave had enough. They forced him to come here. They told him, go find Megatron, or we will dismantle you. Scalpel chuckled darkly. So here he is. Playing at being a leader on a backwater world, building a toy army because he can't command the real one. Nathan nodded. It fit. Starscream was the eternal loser. He builds you drones to stroke his ego. Look at me, I have loyal subjects. Scalpel mocked Starscream's voice. Pathetic. But... Scalpel turned to look at Nathan, a malicious glint in his optics. Soundwave does not trust him. And neither do I. That is why I am here. And that is why I sabotaged the chip. Scalpel pressed a button on his chest chassis. A beam of blue light shot out, projecting a 3D hologram into the air. It was a rotating globe. Earth. But overlaid with Cybertronian glyphs and tracking markers. Starscream thinks I am just a doctor. But I have my own mission. Nathan looked at the hologram. And now, my little rogue, you are going to help me complete it. Chapter 11, Harvester of Suns. The hologram of Earth rotated slowly. Scalpel pointed a claw at it. Little one, I need you to do something for me. Here it comes, Nathan thought. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Lord Scalpel, Nathan began, trying to manage expectations. I am but a humble middle-tier warrior. If the task is too dangerous... Relax, Scalpel interrupted. It's a search mission. Not a combat mission. The hologram shifted. The globe zoomed in, then morphed into a wireframe model of a Cybertronian spacecraft. Beside it, a symbol appeared, a purple spider with 8 legs. I need you to find a Decepticon ship that crashed on this planet. It bears this insignia. A spider? Nathan studied the symbol. It wasn't standard Decepticon heraldry. Purple spider. Black arachnia? Arachnid? In the Bayverse, these characters didn't officially exist on screen. But this was a real universe, filling in the gaps. Scalpel, a doctor, looking for a spider-themed Decepticon? It fit. Find the ship, and you find the Decepticon inside, Scalpel said. Is the pilot dormant? Nathan asked. Likely in stasis lock, Scalpel confirmed. If she were awake, she would have contacted me. She. Nathan noted the pronoun. Definitely black arachnia. However, Scalpel added, his tone darkening. It is possible the humans found the ship first. If Sector 7 or some other military organization has it. Nathan winced. That's the worst-case scenario. If humans had it, it was in a bunker somewhere, being reverse-engineered. Breaking into a human military base was suicidal for a lone trooper. If humans have it, I can't promise retrieval, Nathan said carefully. Just find it, Scalpel replied. I don't expect you to storm a fortress alone. Just locate the signal. And there is no time limit. Do it while you are on missions for Starscream. Just keep your sensors open. No time limit? Perfect. Nathan mentally accepted the quest. He could put it on the back burner while he focused on his own goals like the Allspark. Lord Scalpel, Nathan said, rubbing his hands together metaphorically. This planet is dangerous. If I am to roam freely searching for your friend, I might encounter Autobots. Or humans with missiles. Scalpel rolled his optics. Fine. What do you want? My weapons, Nathan said shamelessly. You promised an armor upgrade. Can you upgrade my firepower too? Scalpel groaned. Greedy little glitches. Fine. I have enough materials to upgrade your blaster capacitors. But that's it. Thank you, Lord Scalpel. You are most generous. Nathan bowed deeply. Armor and weapons. I'm leveling up before I even leave the tutorial. Now, Scalpel said, his voice dropping. There is one more thing. Another one? This relates to why I sabotaged the chip. I wanted a spy because I need to know what Starscream is doing. Scalpel manipulated the hologram again. The globe spun, focusing on the continent of Africa. Red dots appeared, clustering in a specific region. These are Starscream's movements over the last month. He keeps returning to this area. Nathan looked at the map. Egypt. Specifically, a cluster of coordinates southwest of Cairo. The pyramids, Nathan whispered. Scalpel nodded. The Great Pyramids of Giza. According to my scans, those structures were built with Cybertronian assistance thousands of years ago. Starscream is obsessed with them. He spends days scanning the desert sands there. Nathan's spark pulsed. He knew exactly what was there. The Star Harvester. The machine built by the Fallen to destroy the sun and harvest its energy for Energon. It was buried beneath one of the pyramids. Starscream is looking for the Harvester. Or maybe he's looking for the Matrix of Leadership to activate it. No, the Matrix is in Petra, Jordan. So he's looking for the machine itself. This confirmed the timeline. This was definitely pre-Revenge of the Fallen. Interesting, Nathan murmured. Why would he care about piles of stone? That is what you need to find out, Scalpel said. If he finds something powerful out there, he might challenge Megatron. Or worse. I want you to keep your audio receptors open. If he mentions coordinates, artifacts, or the sun, you tell me. Understood, Nathan said. Internally, his mind was racing. The Allspark is in Hoover Dam. The Star Harvester is in Egypt. 2 god-tier artifacts on one planet. If I play my cards right, I might get them both. Chapter 12, Quest for a Spark. The Star Harvester. The machine built to consume suns. In the lore, the Fallen constructed it on Earth in 17,000 BC. The other 6 primes sacrificed themselves to hide the Matrix of Leadership, the activation key, in a tomb made of their own bodies. If Starscream is circling Egypt, he's looking for the Matrix. Or maybe he's looking for the Harvester itself. Nathan's processor word. Starscream isn't an archaeologist. If he's digging in the sand, it's because someone told him where to look. The Fallen. It was the only explanation. In the movies, Starscream served the Fallen after Megatron's death. He must have established contact already. So, Starscream works for the Fallen. Scalpel works for Soundwave. And I work for myself. Nathan felt a strange sense of calm. The board was set. He just had to avoid being a pawn. Lord Scalpel, Nathan said, keeping his voice neutral. I suspect Starscream is looking for ancient Cybertronian artifacts. Perhaps weapons. Weapons? Ha! Scalpel scoffed. Knowing him, he probably thinks he can find a scepter to wave around. But, Scalpel added, his tone serious, there is another possibility. Megatron might be buried there. Nathan almost laughed. Wrong continent, Doc. Megatron is chilling in the Arctic. But he kept silent. Indeed. That is a valid theory. So, will you do it? Scalpel pressed. Will you watch him for me? I will keep my sensors open, Nathan promised. I'll keep them open, but I won't necessarily report anything. Good. Scalpel seemed satisfied. Now, get back on the table. The test isn't finished. Nathan climbed back onto the medical slab. As the cables reconnected to his chest, he decided to cash in some of his new political capital. Lord Scalpel, he asked, staring up at the ceiling. Since we are being honest, I have a question. Speak. How can I evolve? Scalpel paused his typing. He rotated his head to look at the drone. Evolve. Yes. I am a middle-tier warrior with an energy core. I am artificial. Nathan placed a hand over his chest. How do I replace this battery with a real spark? How do I become a true Cybertronian? It was the question that mattered most. An energy core was just fuel. A spark was a soul, a power source that connected to the Allspark and allowed for infinite growth. Without a spark, he capped at middle tier. With a spark, he could become a prime. ZEZ ambitious little glitch, aren't you? Scalpel cackled, hopping onto Nathan's chest. Most drones are happy just to be online. But you want a soul. I want power, Nathan corrected. A spark is power. True. Very true. Scalpel tapped his chin claw thoughtfully. To answer your question, there are 2 ways to obtain a spark. 2 ways? Nathan's optics widened. He knew about the allspark. What was the second method? The first way, Scalpel explained, is obvious. The allspark. The cube. If you touch it, it can bestow life. It can turn raw metal into a spark. But the cube is lost. So that method is unlikely. Not unlikely, Nathan thought. Just difficult. And the second way? Nathan asked eagerly. Scalpel leaned in close, his voice dropping to a whisper. The second way is cannibalism. Nathan's cooling fans stopped. Cannibalism. Yes. You rip the spark out of a living Cybertronian and shove it into your own chest. Scalpel made a violent ripping motion with his claws. But it's not that simple. A spark is unique to its host. To make it yours, you must merge with it. You must overpower the original consciousness. It is dangerous, painful, and often fatal. But if you succeed, Scalpel's eyes gleamed. You inherit their power, their memories, their rank. Nathan lay in silence, processing this. Method 1, the Holy Grail, allspark. Method 2, Highlander, there can be only one. I see, Nathan said softly. So if I want to become a commander, I just have to eat a commander's spark. Theoretically, Scalpel grinned. But try to eat Starscream, and you'll just get indigestion. And a hole in your head. Of course, Nathan replied. But in the darkness of his mind, a new objective was added to his list. Find the allspark. If that fails, find a spark to steal. Chapter 13, Choose your weapon. The first method, Scalpel explained, is the allspark. It radiates life. It can turn your energy core into a true spark. Nathan nodded. This was his plan A. The second method. Scalpel's voice took on a gruesome tone. Is surgical transplantation. You take a functioning spark from a donor and force it into your chassis. A donor. Nathan dismissed the idea immediately. To get a spark, I'd have to kill a Cybertronian. And not just any grunt, a real one. Autobots are tough. Decepticons are tougher. And Jetfire is sleeping in a museum, but he's huge. I can't exactly mug him. I think I'll stick with the cube, Nathan murmured. Wise choice, Scalpel said dryly. Transplants have a high rejection rate. Usually, the host body just explodes. Great. Plan B is suicide. Plan A it is. Over the next 3 days, Nathan turned into the world's most inquisitive lab assistant. He milked Scalpel for information. The old doctor, bored and isolated, was surprisingly willing to lecture. Nathan learned the holy trinity of Cybertronian physiology. The brain module, cerebral unit, the CPU. It held the information chip, programming, memory crystals, RAM/storage, and the quantum neural net, consciousness. As long as this unit survived, a Cybertronian could be rebuilt. This explained Megatron's constant resurrections. Identity, verified by spark frequency, DNA, and carrier waves, biosignature. You couldn't just swap bodies and fool a scanner. The energy unit, spark/core, the soul. The battery. Without it, the body is just a shell, like Galvatron in Age of Extinction. The flaw of the energy core, it doesn't regenerate. It doesn't evolve. A spark grows stronger with age and experience. A core just runs out. The cap, with the core, Nathan was hard-capped at middle tier. He would never be a commander. He would never be a prime. The transformation cog, T-cog, the shape-shifting organ. So, I'm basically a high-end toaster until I get a spark, Nathan concluded. I have no potential cap. I just have a battery life. And if I run out of juice in a fight? Game over. 3 days passed. Scalpel was as good as his word. He finished the tests and immediately prepped the surgical arm. All right, T22. The data is solid. Time for your payment. Thank you, Lord Scalpel. Nathan lay back as the lasers went to work. When he sat up an hour later, he felt heavier, denser. He pulled up his internal diagnostic, a custom HUD element he had coded for himself based on Scalpel's explanations. System status, T22. Class, Middle Tier Warrior, Ground Unit, Armor, Titanium Alloy Plating, upgraded from Manganese, Energy Core, 86%, Weapons Right Arm, Integrated Grenade Launcher Chest, 12.6 mm Rotary Cannon Status, Optimized. Titanium. It wasn't Cybertronian metal, but it was the best Earth had to offer. It could shrug off small arms fire and take a hit from a tank shell without crumpling. I also refueled you, Scalpel grumbled, eyeing the second empty energon cube. You owe me. I will work hard to find your spider ship, Nathan promised. You better. Scalpel signaled Reedman. The thin bot dragged a cart over, displaying 3 metallic objects. T22. There are 3 middle-tier weapon modules compatible with your frame. Choose one. Nathan looked down. The modules were small, condensed by subspace compression technology. Cybertronian tech rule number 1, it's bigger on the inside. Along with mass displacement for size changing and space bridge for teleporting, this was one of the god-tier techs. Nathan studied the 3 options. 2 looked like heavy cannons. 1 looked like a rifle. What are they? Nathan asked, his optical sensors zooming in. Option 1, a plasma cannon, Scalpel explained. High damage, slow fire rate. Good for armor penetration. Option 2, a rapid-fire Gatling blaster. High rate of fire, medium damage. Good for suppressing infantry. Option 3, a sonic disruptor. Non-lethal to bots, but liquefies organic targets. And it can stun sensors. Nathan considered. Plasma fits the heavy trooper vibe. Gatling fits the suppression role. Sonic fits a spy. But he was going to the Hoover Dam. He was going to fight humans and maybe Autobots. I'll take. Chapter 14, Min-maxing a Decepticon. Nathan knew that transformation wasn't just about disguise. It was about tactical mobility. A bipedal robot could only run so fast. A jet or a tank could cross a battlefield in seconds. Usually, a Cybertronian could only scan one alt mode. Switching from a tank to a jet required a total biological rewrite because the weapon modules would conflict. This was why most bots stuck to one form for eons. Megatron was always a jet, or a tank. Optimus was always a truck. Triple changers are the exception, Nathan mused. Shockwave's twisted experiments. Blitzwing, Astrotrain, freaks of nature who can be everything at once. But Nathan wasn't a triple changer. He was a grunt with a limited budget. Lord Scalpel, I can't decide just by looking. What do these do? Ugh. Scalpel rubbed his faceplate. Fine. Sending data now. Incoming transmission. Nathan's HUD populated with specs. Heavy anti-material rifle, arm-mounted high penetration. Single shot. Good against armor. Cons, low fire rate. No splash damage. Heavy ion cannon, arm-mounted high explosive damage. Area of effect. Cons, slow projectile speed. Terrible accuracy. Multi-pod rocket launcher, shoulder-mounted fires salvo of tracking micromissiles. Cons, low individual damage. Missiles can be intercepted. Choices. Nathan analyzed his current loadout. His right arm had a grenade launcher. It was powerful but inaccurate, he couldn't hit a moving car if his life depended on it. His chest had a 12.6 mm machine gun. Good for suppression, but fixed forward. I need versatility. Option 1 is good for sniping, but I'm not a sniper. Option 2 is basically my grenade launcher but bigger. Option 3. Auto-aim. In a chaotic firefight against fast targets, like Autobots or fighter jets, accuracy was king. Tracking missiles meant he didn't have to aim perfectly. I'll take the rocket launcher, Nathan decided. But, he added quickly, I want to reconfigure my hardpoints. Reconfigure. Scalpel groaned. You are demanding. My grenade launcher is trash, Nathan said bluntly. Remove it. Move my chest machine gun to my right arm. Then install the rocket launcher on my left shoulder. This way, I have a flexible machine gun for close range and tracking missiles for long range. Fine, fine, Scalpel waved a claw. Get on the table. Turn off your pain sensors. Surgical procedure, initiated. Nathan disabled his tactile feedback. He felt nothing as Scalpel cut into his chassis, rerouting power conduits and welding new mounts. The logic of weapon modules versus handheld weapons was simple. Handheld weapons, like Hound's arsenal, needed external ammo. Once you ran dry, you were just holding a metal club. Weapon modules, integrated weapons, used energy-to-matter conversion. They drew directly from the bot's core to fabricate ammo on the fly. As long as Nathan had energy, he had bullets. My machine gun uses negligible energy. The rockets will cost more per shot, but they're infinite. Procedure complete. System rebooting. Nathan opened his eyes. He sat up and flexed his right arm. The panels shifted, revealing the triple barrels of his rotary cannon, now integrated seamlessly into his forearm. He checked his left shoulder. A pod housing 6 micromissiles sat flush against his armor. System status, T-22. Class, Middle Tier Warrior, Elite Config, Armor, Titanium Alloy Weapon 1, 12.6 mm Rotary Cannon, Right Arm, Weapon 2, Tracking Missile Pod, Left Shoulder, Energy, 86%. Nathan clenched his fist. The servos whined with new power. Excellent. He was still a middle-tier warrior. His reactor output hadn't changed. But his combat efficiency had skyrocketed. T-19 and the others were still using standard-issue blasters and manganese armor. In a 1v1, Nathan would scrap them in seconds. I'm maxed out, he realized. This is the best I can get without a spark. Hardware upgrades are done. Now I need software. I need the Allspark. The lab doors hissed open. 3 days are up, Scalpel announced, looking at the door. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor. Starscream had returned. Chapter 15, Proximity to Power. Body evolution requires divine intervention. Or at least, a divine artifact like the Allspark. Nathan suppressed the thrill of his new upgrades. He needed to test them. Click whir. At his mental command, his right forearm split. The 3 barrels of the 12.6 mm rotary cannon spun up with a menacing hum. Simultaneously, the armor on his left shoulder slid back. The multi-pod launcher rose from its housing, 4 dark tubes locking onto imaginary targets. Hey! Watch it! Scalpel screeched, shielding the newly coded information chip with his body. This lab cost me a fortune. If you misfire and blow up my equipment, I will dismantle you while you're still online. My apologies, Lord Scalpel, Nathan said, retracting the weapons. Just a systems check. He glanced at the chip Scalpel was holding. It was larger than a human laptop, glowing with complex circuitry. So, that's the code. Of course. You finished it fast. I didn't even see you write. Hiss. The heavy blast doors groaned open. Nathan immediately shut up and lowered his head. Starscream strode in. He looked exactly as he had 3 days ago, impatient, arrogant, and radiating menace. Time is up, Scalpel. Where is the chip? Right here, Scalpel said, presenting the device. ZEZ, check it yourself. Starscream snatched the chip. His optics projected a red scanning beam over the surface. Humph, adequate. He turned to look at Nathan, who was doing his best impression of a statue. Let's go, T-22. Starscream spun on his heel and marched out. Yes, Lord Starscream. Nathan hurried after him, shooting a quick wink at Scalpel behind Starscream's back. Scalpel tapped his temple with a claw. Remember the mission? Nathan nodded slightly. I got it. Find the spider, watch the boss. Outside the lab, T-19 was waiting. Lord Starscream, the drone saluted. T-22, go with T-19. He will brief you on your duties, Starscream ordered without stopping. He clutched the chip and transformed into his F-22 Raptor mode, blasting down the oversized corridor with a deafening roar. Nathan stood in the wash of jet exhaust, confused. That's it? No debriefing? No, what did Scalpel do? No secret meeting? Did he forget I was supposed to be spying? Or does he just not care? Maybe Starscream was just posturing. Maybe he knew Scalpel was up to something but lacked the political capital to execute his chief medical officer without proof. T-22. Follow me. T-19's voice was flat, emotionless. The voice of a programmed soldier. Sure thing, brother, Nathan replied, falling into step. As they walked, Nathan observed the base. It was massive. The corridors were wide enough for tanks to drive 2 abreast. Cybertronian architecture is impressive. Starscream dug this whole complex by himself? They passed a room labeled Material Extraction. Small, wheeled drones, not sentient Cybertronians, just dumb labor bots, were scurrying in and out. They carried baskets of raw ore. Local minerals, T-19 explained, noticing Nathan's gaze. We mine deep beneath the surface. The ore is refined into energon. T-19 sighed, a very human gesture for a robot. But the yield is terrible. It takes tons of ore to fill 1 cube. I see. Nathan nodded. Resource scarcity. The classic Decepticon problem. But his mind was working on the geography. Deep mining. Desert terrain. Ore processing. Scalpel had shown him the map coordinates earlier. The Great Basin Desert, Nevada. Diller Mountains. Connors Canyon. Nathan did the math. We are in Nevada. The Silver State. Hoover Dam is on the border of Nevada and Arizona. Distance, approximate 400 kilometers. For a human, that was a long drive. For a Cybertronian jet? It was a 10-minute flight. I am practically neighbors with Megatron and the Allspark. If Starscream knew how close he was to his missing leader, he would either be terrified or ecstatic. As they walked past the mining drones, the small bots stopped and pressed themselves against the walls, bowing to the superior warriors. Nathan looked at them. They were tools. T-19 looked at them. He saw nothing. Hierarchy, Nathan thought. Even among machines, there are masters and slaves. I need to make sure I stay a master. Chapter 16, Genetic Rejection. We're here. T-19 stopped at a door at the end of the corridor. He punched in a code. Hiss. The door slid open, revealing a room that felt less like a factory and more like a biological horror movie. Rows of metal racks lined the walls. Suspended from them were translucent, organic-looking sacs. Inside each sac, a dark, spindly shape writhed in embryonic fluid. T20, T21 and the others were already there, moving between the racks with syringes of blue liquid. "This is the hatchery," T19 explained with pride. "Lord Starscream's most important project." Nathan stared at the writhing sacs. Hatchlings. He recognized them immediately. In Revenge of the Fallen, the Decepticon ship the Nemesis was full of these things. Starscream is growing an army. "These are clones," T19 continued. "Lord Starscream injected our genetic code into protoforms. They are our children, in a way." "Your children?" Nathan suppressed a shudder. "More like your Xerox copies. We have to feed them energon every cycle, or they starve," T19 said, handing Nathan a large injector gun filled with glowing blue liquid. "Here. This rack is yours." Nathan took the feeder. "Understood." He watched T19 walk away. "So, my first combat mission is babysitting. Starscream leaves the base to hunt for god-tier artifacts, and I'm stuck here playing nursemaid to a bunch of slime-covered gremlins." Nathan approached his assigned rack. There were 9 sacs. Inside one, a small, skeletal Decepticon face pressed against the membrane, its optics dark. He injected the energon. The sac pulsed, and the hatchling spasmed, absorbing the nutrient. "This technology, it's definitely from the Fallen. Only the Fallen used this kind of biomechanical breeding." The fact that Starscream was using it confirmed their alliance. If these hatchlings survive, Nathan thought, they will be mindless drones. Cannon fodder for the invasion. But looking at them, they don't look healthy. 2 days later. Another failure. Nathan watched as one of the sacs on his rack turned grey and began to leak. The hatchling inside had stopped moving. Its spark, or rather, its weak proto-spark had flickered out. Splat! The sac ruptured, dropping the lifeless, half-formed metal skeleton onto the grating. Nathan sighed. He picked up the corpse with a pair of tongs and dropped it into the disposal chute. This was the 4th one he'd lost in 2 days. The other drones were having similar results. The floor was slick with failed experiments. Genetic rejection, T19 had explained earlier, repeating what Starscream told him. These protoforms were stolen from the Autobots. Their base code fights our Decepticon programming. Only the strong survive. Stolen Autobot frames forced to mutate into Decepticons. No wonder the failure rate is 50%. Nathan looked at the remaining 5 sacs on his rack. Survival of the fittest. While he worked, he covertly watched the other drones. Scalpel said, "One of you has a sabotaged chip. One of you has free will." But which one? T19 was a sycophant. T20 was a brute. T21 was silent. T23, T24, T25. They all acted like perfect soldiers. Maybe the rogue unit knows how to act, just like me. Or maybe, the rogue unit was T18. If T18 was the rogue, and he died on the operating table, then Scalpel's plan was dead before it started. And Nathan was the only free agent left. Either way, Nathan thought, injecting another dose of energon. "I need to get out of this nursery. I have a map to a spider ship. I have a rocket launcher. And I'm stuck here wiping slime off the floor." Just then, the base comms crackled. "Alert, perimeter breach Sector 4. Unit T19, T22, investigate." Nathan's optics flared. Finally. He dropped the feeder. "Let's roll." Chapter 17, Chapter 17, Suspect T24. Technique is easy. Materials are hard. That was Nathan's takeaway from the hatchery. You needed protoforms to make Decepticons. And since they didn't have a protoform farm, they were scavenging used Autobot frames. Recycling enemy corpses to build your own children. Classic Decepticon efficiency. He tossed a failed, half-formed hatchling into the disposal chute. Hiss! The hatchery door slid open. Lord Starscream! Nathan's demeanor shifted instantly from bored janitor to loyal soldier. Starscream strode in, ignoring the bow. He walked straight to the racks, his red optics scanning the surviving sacks. How many? He demanded. T-19 stepped forward, nervous. Reporting, Lord Starscream. My rack has 6 survivors. Mine has 4. They tallied the count. 28. Out of nearly 60 pods, less than half had survived. 28? Acceptable, Starscream muttered. He glared at the 7 middle-tier drones. They hatch in one cycle. Do not let any more die. I want results, not excuses. Yes, Lord Starscream. 1 day later. The hatching was violent. It wasn't like a chick breaking an egg. It was like a grenade going off inside a water balloon. The sacks tore open, spilling fluid and metal. The hatchlings hit the floor and immediately unfolded, their limbs snapping into place with sickening cracks. They went from embryonic balls to 4-meter-tall killing machines in seconds. Now, they were all gathered in the main hangar, a massive staging area that connected the base to the outside world via the Connors Canyon exit. Nathan leaned against a wall, watching the chaos. The 28 new Decepticons were junior warriors. Ground troops. They were smaller than Nathan, about half his height, looking like miniature, angrier versions of T-19 and the others. And they were currently beating the scrap out of each other. Clang! Thud! Who threw that shell casing? I'll rip your head off! Fight! 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 A circle had formed around 2 brawling hatchlings. The other 26 were cheering, betting, or just shoving each other. Nathan watched with the detached amusement of a zoo visitor. They have the temperament of toddlers and the strength of forklifts. If we didn't have weapons, they'd probably try to eat us. He didn't intervene. Decepticon culture was based on strength. Let them fight. As long as they didn't use blasters or damage the hull, it was just training. T-22. A voice interrupted his thoughts. Nathan turned. A large, bulky figure was approaching him. T-24. One of the original 7. A brute with heavy armor and a quiet demeanor. What is it, T-24? Nathan asked, feigning disinterest. Come to watch the kindergarten fight club. T-24 didn't laugh. He stood next to Nathan, watching the brawl. Do you know why Lord Starscream has gathered us here? T-24 asked suddenly. Nathan raised an optic ridge. That's a weird question. Most drones just waited for orders. They didn't ask why. I don't know, Nathan shrugged. Why do you ask? T-24 turned his head, looking directly at Nathan. You spent 3 days in the lab with Scalpel. Did he tell you anything? About Starscream's plans? Bingo! Nathan's internal alarm bells went off. Why is he so curious? Why is he probing me for intel? Scalpel had said 1 chip was sabotaged. 1 drone had free will. Nathan knew he wasn't the sabotaged one, he just had a human soul. Which meant the real rogue unit was still out there. Is it you, T-24? Are you the glitch in the system? Nathan played it cool. Scalpel. He scoffed. That bug just used me as a battery tester. He didn't tell me anything. He stared back at T-24. Why? Are you worried about something, brother? T-24 held his gaze for a second too long, then looked away. No. Just, eager to fight. Liar. Nathan marked T-24 on his HUD. Target designation, suspect. Just then, the hangar bay doors groaned. The locking mechanism disengaged. Starscream had arrived. And he wasn't alone. Chapter 18, The search begins. Waiting was the soldier's lot. Even for alien robots. Nathan leaned against the wall of the connecting hangar, watching the E-Series clones brawl. It had been hours. T-22, T-24 asked again, his voice lower this time. Do you think we will ever see Cybertron? Nathan looked at the brute. T-24 wasn't just a killer, he was homesick. I don't know, Nathan answered honestly. Cybertron is a dead planet now. Why go back to a graveyard? Because it is home, T-24 said simply. And because I want to kill the Autobots who ruined it. He turned to Nathan, his optics burning with fervor. If you see an Autobot, tell me. I want to be the first to tear them apart. Nathan stared at him. You want to solo an Autobot? With your mid-tier frame and standard blaster? Buddy, Bumblebee would rip your spine out before you finished transforming. But he nodded solemnly. Sure. If I see Bumblebee or Optimus Prime, I'll let you know so you can handle them. Thank you, brother. Don't mention it. I'll prepare your eulogy. Clang. The hangar doors slammed open. Starscream stormed in. He didn't walk, he stomped. He saw two E-Series clones wrestling on the floor. Enough. Wham! Wham! Starscream kicked the brawlers apart, sending them skidding across the metal floor. If you dent my floor, I will recycle you into toaster ovens. The clones scrambled to their feet, terrified. Starscream was in a foul mood. Earlier, Soundwave had contacted him from deep space. The communications officer was losing patience. Starscream. Lord Megatron remains missing. If you do not produce results, I will deploy to Earth personally. That was a threat. If Soundwave came to Earth, Starscream's little kingdom would collapse. He needed to look busy. Decepticons. Assemble. The 35 warriors scrambled into formation. The 7 T-Series stood in front, the 28 E-Series clones lined up behind. Starscream paced before them. The time for hiding is over. We have a mission. You will scour this miserable planet. You will find Lord Megatron. Finally, Nathan thought. The plot begins. T-19. Starscream barked. Here, Lord Starscream. Take units E1 through E4. You are Flight Squadron 1. You will search the northern sector. Yes, Lord Starscream. Starscream went down the line. T-20, Squadron 2. T-21, Squadron 3. Finally, he reached Nathan. T-22. Here, Lord Starscream. Take units E-25 through E-28. You are Flight Squadron 7. Starscream paused, looking at Nathan. Since you are resourceful, I am assigning you the western sector. Specifically, the area surrounding the Colorado River. Nathan's spark skipped a beat. The Colorado River runs right through the Hoover Dam. Is he doing this on purpose? Or is it fate? You will scan for Cybertronian signatures, Starscream ordered. Report anything unusual directly to me. Understood, Lord Starscream. Nathan saluted. Behind him, 4 E-Series clones, smaller, uglier versions of himself, snapped to attention. I'm a squad leader now. And I just got a free ticket to the Alls Park. Starscream turned to the hangar exit, the massive blast doors leading to Connor's Canyon. Decepticons. Transform and rise up. Ka-chunk whirzing. Starscream leaped into the air, shifting mid-jump into his F-22 Raptor mode. His afterburners lit the hangar with blue fire as he shrieked out into the desert sky. Squadron 7, on me. Nathan ordered. He activated his T-cog. Transformation sequence initiated. His limbs folded, panels shifted, and his head tucked away. In less than 2 seconds, he was no longer a robot. He was a sleek, dark grey F-35 Lightning II fighter jet. Whoosh! Nathan blasted out of the hangar, his 4 minions following in formation. The desert stretched out below him. The sky was wide and blue. Target, Hoover Dam. Objective, Godhood. Chapter 19, Establishing Dominance. Are we leaving yet, sir? The question hung in the air of the connecting hangar. The other 6 squadrons had already departed. Starscream was long gone. Only Squadron 4 remained. Nathan stared at his 4 subordinates units E-13 through E-16. They were fidgeting, eager to deploy. Are you deaf, sir? Or just slow? The clone muttered under his breath. Nathan narrowed his optics. Decepticons respect strength. If I don't break them now, they'll break me later. Are you? Nathan stepped forward, looming over the impatient clone, E-13. Questioning my command. The 4 clones exchanged glances. They were new, arrogant, and stupid. We wouldn't dare, sir. We just wanted to remind you of Lord Starscream's orders. Wham! Nathan didn't let him finish. He grabbed E-13 by the throat cables and hoisted him into the air. Gah! Click whir! Nathan's right arm shifted. The triple barrels of his 12.6 mm rotary cannon spun up, the muzzle pressing directly against the clone's faceplate. You remind me. Nathan growled, his voice dropping to a dangerous, metallic rasp. He swept his gaze over the other 3 terrified clones. I don't care how the other squadrons operate. In Squadron 4, there is only one rule. The cannon barrels spun faster, a high-pitched whine filling the silence. My word is law. Do you understand? Yes. Yes, sir. Understood. Please don't shoot. The clones scrambled to agree. They had expected a leader, but they hadn't expected a psychopath. And you? Nathan tightened his grip on E-13's throat. I understand. Sir. Thud. Nathan dropped him. E-13 hit the floor hard, scrambling backward in fear. Let this be the first and last time, Nathan said coldly, retracting his weapon. His demeanor shifted instantly from murderous rage to calm indifference. If you question me again, I will recycle you myself. And I won't need a disposal chute. Yes, sir. The 4 clones bowed their heads, trembling. Nathan smirked internally. Fear established. He needed absolute control. He had Secret Scalpel's mission, the Allspark heist, and he couldn't have 4 idiots reporting his every move to Starscream. Move out. Nathan turned and walked toward the canyon exit. The clones followed him like obedient puppies. The blast doors opened, revealing the twilight sky of the Great Basin Desert. Rain fell softly on the canyon floor. A desert iguana scurried away as the massive metal giants stepped out into the open air. It's so high. E-14 whispered, looking up at the sliver of sky between the canyon walls. Where are we going, sir? E-13 asked, much more respectfully this time. Nathan checked his internal map. Starscream assigned us the western sector. The Colorado River. Perfect. We are going to our patrol zone, Nathan announced. He walked to the center of the canyon clearing. Squadron 4. Transform and rise up. Ka-chunk whirzing. Nathan leaped into the air. His limbs folded, panels shifted, and engines roared to life. He didn't scan an Earth jet yet. He was currently in his Cybertronian jet mode, a jagged, angular spacecraft that looked like a dart made of knives. It wasn't subtle, but it was fast. Whoosh! His afterburners flared blue, propelling him up through the canyon gap and into the clouds. Behind him, 4 smaller jets followed in formation. Nathan soared through the rain, his sensors sweeping the horizon. Destination, Hoover Dam. But first, I need a disguise. I need to scan an Earth vehicle. System alert. Scanning for alt modes. Chapter 20, Chapter 20, Rules of Engagement. Sunshine State. Miami. Whoosh. A sonic boom tore through the clouds above the Atlantic coast, followed by 4 smaller echoes. Nathan throttled back his engines. Below him, the city of Miami glittered like a circuit board of gold and neon. 3 hours from Nevada to Florida, he noted. Not bad for a Mach 1 cruise. He checked his energy levels. Energy, 84%. Flying cloaked burns fuel. 1% drain for the flight, 1% for the stealth field. He was currently invisible. Not to radar, his mass was still there, but to the naked eye. His Cybertronian jet mode came with an integrated optical camouflage suite. It bent light around his fuselage, making him a shimmer in the sky. It wasn't perfect. A keen eye or a thermal sensor could spot the distortion. But for flying at night, it was a ghost mode. Time to land. He scanned the outskirts. Target acquired, abandoned industrial zone. Aiken chemical plant. The factory had been dead for decades. Rust ate at the iron girders, vines choked the smokestacks. Crash. The roof of the main warehouse shattered inward. Nathan dropped from the sky, shifting mid-fall. He slammed onto the concrete floor in robot mode, his optical camouflage flickering off. The air shimmered, and a 9-meter-tall giant of black steel materialized from nothing. Clang! Thud! Thud! Seconds later, E-13, E-14, E-15, and E-16 crashed down around him, kicking up clouds of dust and debris. Cough! E-13 waved a hand through the dust. Outside, Nathan ordered. He led them into the overgrown courtyard. The factory was a perfect hideout, isolated, dilapidated, and ignored by the city. Listen up, Nathan said, turning to his squad. The 4 clones snapped to attention. They were still terrified from the earlier beating. This is our forward operating base. We hold this position until further orders. Yes, sir. Nathan paced in front of them. Rule number 1, stealth. We are in enemy territory. Humans are weak, but they have numbers. And they have nukes. He pointed a finger at E-13. If any human sees you, if you are spotted on a camera, if you so much as dent a car without my permission. Nathan leaned in, his red optics glowing. I won't report you to Starscream. I will rip your energy core out of your chest and feed it to the sharks. The clones shivered. Understood, sir. Absolute stealth. Good. Nathan looked around the rusty chemical tanks. Why Miami? It wasn't just for the view. Proximity to the ocean. If things went south, he could disappear into the Atlantic. Proximity to the border. He could flee to Cuba or South America if Sector 7 heat got too high. And most importantly, Scalpel's map. The spider ship signal was weak, but it pointed generally southeast. If Black Arachnia crashed anywhere, it was likely in the swamps or the ocean. But first, he had a job to do for Starscream. Or at least, he had to pretend to do it. E-13, E-14. You take the night watch. Monitor local radio frequencies. Look for keywords: giant robot, meteor crash, north by east 1. Yes, sir. E-15, E-16. Scout the perimeter. Stay in vehicle mode. Do not engage. Yes, sir. Nathan watched them scatter. Now that the kids are busy. He walked into the main warehouse and found a secluded corner. Time to do some real research. He activated his internal comms, not to call Starscream, but to scan the local internet. I need to find Hoover Dam's schematics. And I need to know where Sam Witwicky is. If he could find the boy, he could find the glasses. And the glasses led to the Alls Park. Accessing World Wide Web. Search query, Captain Archibald Witwicky. Chapter 21, Chapter 21, The Data Heist. Aiken Chemical Plant, Miami. Listen up, Nathan instructed his squad, his voice low and serious. If any human enters this factory, capture them. Do not kill them unless necessary. And do not let them transmit a signal. Understood, sir. The 4 clones nodded in unison. They transformed into their vehicle modes various Earth cars they had scanned en route and rolled into the shadows of the warehouse. Satisfied, Nathan walked out into the humid night air. Time to go to work. He transformed. The sleek, alien fighter jet shimmered into invisibility as his optical camouflage engaged. Whoosh! He blasted off, turning northwest. Back toward Nevada. 2 hours later. The Colorado River. Moonlight reflected off the dark water below. A massive concrete wall curbed the flow of the river, holding back millions of tons of pressure. The Hoover Dam. Nathan landed on a rocky outcropping overlooking the dam. He shifted to robot mode, his heavy footsteps cracking the stone beneath him. He activated his optical zoom. To a human, it was just a dam. To Nathan, it was a fortress. His sensors picked up the hum of high-voltage transmission lines. Not just going out to the grid, but going in. The cryostasis system. Sector 7 used liquid nitrogen and massive amounts of electricity to keep Megatron frozen in the basement. If I cut the power, he wakes up. But I'm not here to wake him up. I'm here to rob him. Nathan scanned the perimeter. Guards. Cameras. Motion sensors. If I attack, they'll call reinforcements. The military base at Nellis Air Force Base is minutes away. In the movie, Blackout, a heavy warrior was killed by humans with grenade launchers. I'm just a middle warrior. I can't tank that kind of heat. Stealth is the only way. He watched a black SUV with tinted windows drive across the dam. It bore a discreet logo, Sector 7. That's my ticket. I need to find a lone Sector 7 agent, scan their vehicle, and drive right through the front door. This is just a recon mission, he told himself. Don't get greedy. He memorized the patrol routes and the shift changes. Then, he leaped off the cliff, transforming mid-air and banking toward the bright lights on the horizon. Las Vegas, Nevada. Sin City. The City of Lights. Nathan landed on the roof of a high-rise office building. The neon glow of the strip below washed over his dark armor. He walked to the edge, looking down at the ants below. Tourists, gamblers, hustlers. Humans are so fragile, he mused. And so loud. He felt a pang of nostalgia. In his past life, he might have been down there, losing money at a blackjack table. Now, he was a giant robot plotting a heist. Enough sentiment. He turned to the massive communications tower on the roof. Smash! He ripped the maintenance panel off with one hand. Sparks flew as he grabbed a thick bundle of fiber optic cables. His chest armor opened, revealing a universal data port. He jammed the cables directly into his interface. Connection established. Accessing global network. Data flooded his mind. News reports, government chatter, encrypted military bands. He was looking for keywords: North by East 1, giant robots, meteor strikes, Witwicky. He filtered through the noise, building a database of the current timeline. No meteor strikes yet. The Autobots haven't arrived. No major military alerts. Sector 7 is quiet. Everything is calm. This is the eye of the storm. Suddenly, his search algorithm pinged. Alert, Sector 7 database. Encryption level, high. Location, blackout zone, Qatar. Nathan paused. Qatar. The opening scene of the first movie. Blackout attacks the Sakent base in Qatar to hack the military network. If Blackout is in Qatar, the movie starts soon. He checked the date. It's close. Very close. He disconnected from the tower, leaving the cables sparking in the wind. I have a window. Maybe a few days before Blackout attacks. Once he attacks, the world goes on high alert. Sector 7 will lock down. I have to move fast. He transformed and took off, disappearing into the night sky. Next stop, the Everglades. Let's see if I can find a spider before the war starts. Chapter 22, Chapter 22, Target, the glasses. Las Vegas. The Strip. ZZZZT. Nathan yanked the cable from his chest port. The connection severed. Nothing on Sector 7 in the public records. As expected. He wasn't disappointed. The internet scan was just a timeline check. The world was still in 2007. No Autobots. No public knowledge of North by East 1. Before leaving, he decided to secure some resources. Humans love money. And I might need to bribe someone. Or buy a warehouse. He plugged a new cable into the server. Target, Fortis Bank, Las Vegas branch. To a human hacker, the bank's firewall was a fortress. To a Cybertronian, it was wet tissue paper. Nathan bypassed the encryption in 40 seconds. He didn't want to crash the economy, so he schemed the grey accounts money from casinos and illicit operations that wouldn't be missed immediately. Transfer complete. Amount, $100 million. Account holder, Archibald Witwicky. He chuckled at his own joke. Great-great-grandpa is rich. He wiped the logs and jumped off the roof, vanishing into the night. Nellis Air Force Base. An hour later, Nathan hovered invisibly outside the perimeter fence. He wanted to hack the military grid to find the Hoover Dam schematics. But the base was on high alert. Hard lines were buried. Wireless was encrypted with rotating ciphers. I'm a soldier, not a spy, he admitted. Frenzy could crack this in seconds. I'd just set off the alarm. He abandoned the idea. If I can't get the map from the military, I'll get it from the source. The glasses. Los Angeles. Tranquility. It was 5 a.m. The suburbs were silent. A sleek, pitch-black sports car rolled down the street. Its engine purred with a low, predatory rumble. The windows were tinted dark enough to hide the fact that there was no driver. Nathan had scanned the vehicle, a modified muscle car on the highway. It blended in perfectly with the LA car culture. He pulled up to the curb. 2175 Crescent Avenue. Or whatever the Witwicky address was in this universe. He checked his sensors. Inside the house, 3 heartbeats. Sam Witwicky. Ron Witwicky. Judy Witwicky. And a dog, Mocho. The glasses are in Sam's room. 2nd floor. Nathan considered his options. Kick down the door, fast, but noisy. Sector 7 monitors the internet for keywords, but they also monitor police bands. A giant robot home invasion would bring heat. Wait for Sam to leave. Sam would take the glasses to school to sell them to the pawn shop, or eBay. The sneaky approach, use a drone. He didn't have a Reedman or a Frenzy. But he had mass displacement. He couldn't shrink to insect size, but he could project a hollow avatar. Click. The driver's side door opened. A man stepped out. He was tall, wearing a black suit and sunglasses. He looked like a generic government agent. It was a solid light hologram. Nathan, the car, stayed parked. The avatar walked up the driveway. If anyone sees me, I'm just a guy early for work. The avatar reached the front door. It didn't knock. It simply phased its hand through the lock mechanism, using a localized magnetic pulse to unlock the deadbolt. Click. The door swung open. Nathan's avatar stepped into the Witwicky home. Quiet. Don't wake the dog. He moved up the stairs. The floorboards creaked. Bark. Bark. Mojo, the chihuahua with a cast on its leg, waddled out of a bedroom, yapping furiously. The avatar froze. It looked down at the rat-sized dog. Shhh, the avatar hissed, projecting a low-frequency sound wave designed to induce drowsiness. Mojo wobbled, yawned, and flopped over, snoring. Cybertronian lullaby. Works every time. Nathan reached Sam's room. The door was ajar. Inside, the boy was asleep, drooling on his pillow. The room was a mess of clothes and textbooks. And there, on the desk, sitting on top of a history report about Archibald Witwicky. The glasses. The lenses were cracked, old, and dusty. But to Nathan's sensors, they were glowing with microscopic laser etchings. The Allspark coordinates. The avatar reached out and picked them up. Success. Now he just had to leave before Sam woke up. Suddenly, Sam snorted and rolled over. No. Miles, don't climb the tree. Nathan froze. Sam didn't wake up. The avatar slipped the glasses into its pocket and backed out of the room. Mission accomplished. Nathan retreated to the car. The avatar dissolved as he merged back with his main body. He revved the engine. I have the map. I have the money. I have the firepower. Next stop, Hoover Dam. This time, I'm going in. Chapter 23, Chapter 23, Breaking and Entering. It was early summer. The sun rose quickly, painting the Los Angeles sky in hues of orange and pink. Nathan sat parked at the curb, engine off, windows up. He had chosen a black sports car mode. Not because he was vain, but because jets couldn't parallel park in suburbia. If I stayed a jet, I'd have the National Guard on me in 5 minutes, he thought. Ground vehicles are slower, but they are invisible in plain sight. However, being a cool car had its downsides. Since 6 a.m., 3 joggers had stopped to stare. One fat kid with a sandwich actually touched his hood. Get your greasy hands off my paint, Nathan growled internally. If I wasn't undercover, I'd transform and punt you into the Sunday. He wiped the grease off with a microscopic vibration of his armor panels. Finally, the front door opened. Sam Witwicky. The boy stumbled out, backpack slung over one shoulder, looking every bit the awkward teenager. Okay, Mom, I know. 3 A's and the money. Sam yelled back at the house. He grabbed his bicycle, then froze. He saw the car. Whoa! Sam dropped his bike. He walked over to Nathan, his eyes wide. No way! Is this a concept car? It's sick. Sam circled the vehicle, drooling over the lines. Man, if I pulled up to school in this, Michaela would definitely talk to me. Nathan watched him through his sensors with a mix of pity and amusement. Kid, if you drove me, you'd be dead in an hour. But dream on. Sam. You're going to be late. Ron Witwicky stepped onto the porch, waving his briefcase. Coming, Dad. Sam gave the car one last longing look, patted the hood, leaving another smudge, and pedaled away. Ron walked past a moment later. He paused, admiring the car. Nice ride. Don't recall anyone on the block having that kind of money. He shrugged and got into his green hatchback, driving off to work. 10 a.m. Judy Witwicky finally left the house, carrying Mojo the dog. She drove off in her station wagon. The house was empty. Showtime. Activating ECM suite. Nathan pulsed a localized electromagnetic field. ZZZZT. The security cameras on the porch flickered and died. The Wi-Fi router inside the house reset. For the next 10 minutes, this block was a digital dead zone. Vroom. Nathan rolled silently up the driveway and into the backyard, crushing Judy's prize-winning petunias. Ka-chunk whir. He transformed. Metal plates shifted, tires folded into calves, and his 9-meter frame rose up, blocking out the sun. He crouched low to avoid being seen over the roofline. He peered into the second-story window. Sam's room. Scanning. His optical sensors bathed the room in a red grid. Desk. Bed. Pile of dirty laundry. Target detected. On the desk, buried under a history textbook, lay the glasses. To a human, they were old junk. To Nathan, the lenses glowed with faint, ultraviolet Cybertronian glyphs. The map to the Alls Park. Gotcha. He reached out with 2 massive fingers. The window was open a crack. He carefully slid the sash up. Easy, don't break the house. His metal fingertip, large as a soda can, gently pushed aside the textbook. He pinched the glasses by the bridge. Success. He pulled his hand back. Suddenly, a car pulled into the driveway. Screech. Tires on gravel. Nathan froze. Alert, returning vehicle. It was Judy. She had forgotten her purse. Damn it. Nathan held the glasses tight. He was fully exposed in the backyard. He had 2 seconds before she walked into the kitchen and saw a giant robot standing in her garden. Transform? No time. Hide? Nowhere big enough. He engaged his optical camouflage. Zing! The air shimmered. His black armor vanished, replaced by a distorted ripple of light. Judy walked into the kitchen. She looked out the window. She saw the garden. She saw the crushed petunias. She saw a weird heat haze in the air. Damn raccoons! She muttered. She grabbed her purse and left. Nathan let out a vent of hot air. Too close. He transformed back into the car, glasses safely stowed in his glove compartment. He rolled out of the backyard and back onto the street. I have the map. I have the money. I have the firepower. Next stop, the Hoover Dam. Chapter 24, Chapter 24, 3 days remain. Tranquility, California. Nathan held the glasses up to his optical sensors. Analyzing artifact. The laser etchings on the lenses were microscopic. To a human, they were just scratches. To Nathan, they were a map. Coordinates confirmed, 36 degrees 0056 and 114 degrees 44 minutes 16 seconds west. The Hoover Dam. But as he dug deeper into the data, his processor flagged something else. Hidden layer detected. Decoding. It wasn't just a map. It was a command sequence. In the lore, the Alls Park was a programmable computer as much as a power source. It responded to specific frequency inputs source codes. This specific code, etched by a dormant Megatron onto Archibald's glasses in a moment of subconscious clarity, was a biological upgrade protocol. It's a cheat code, Nathan realized, his spark pulsing with excitement. It's a command that tells the cube to evolve the user. If I touch the cube and broadcast this code, I won't just get a spark. I'll get a prime level upgrade. This changed everything. He didn't just need to touch the cube, he needed to hack it. He saved the sequence to his encrypted drive. Source_code_alpha, saved. Now, what to do with the glasses? If I keep them, the Autobots lose the trail. Sam never meets Bumblebee. The timeline breaks. If the timeline breaks, I lose my advantage. Nathan reached back through the window. With the precision of a surgeon, he placed the glasses back into the cluttered cabinet, burying them under a pile of old newspapers. Go get 'em, Sam. Be the hero. He retracted his arm, transformed back into the black sports car, and rolled silently out of the driveway. Later that afternoon. Sam Witwicky pedaled his bike furiously down the street. Please be there, please be there. He rounded the corner and skidded to a halt. The curb was empty. No. Sam wailed, dropping his bike. The dream car. It's gone. He trudged into his house, defeated. He walked upstairs to his room. Mom. Dad. Who messed up my room? 2 days later. Nevada base. Whoosh. A black alien jet screamed down into Connor's Canyon, transforming mid-air and landing with a heavy thud inside the base entrance. Starscream was back. And he was furious. Smash! He backhanded a mining drone, sending its head flying. Get out of my way, you useless scrap! He stomped down the corridor, ignoring the salutes of the few remaining troopers. He marched straight to the communications room. He punched in his command code. The massive screen flickered to life. Incoming transmission, deep space. A face appeared on the screen. It was blue, visor-clad, and utterly emotionless. Soundwave. Starscream, Soundwave's synthesized voice droned. Report. Soundwave. My old friend. Starscream put on his best fake smile. I am searching diligently. But this planet is vast, and the humans. Irrelevant, Soundwave cut him off. Lord Megatron has been missing for thousands of stellar cycles. His signal was last tracked to this system. I know. But I need time. You have had time, Soundwave stated coldly. Shockwave grows impatient. I grow impatient. The screen flickered as Soundwave leaned closer. You have 3 solar cycles, 3 days, 3 days. Starscream shrieked. That is impossible. I can't scan the whole planet in 3 days. If you fail to locate Lord Megatron in 3 days, Soundwave continued, I will deploy to Earth myself. And I will assume command. No. You can't. Transmission terminated. The screen went black. Arg. Starscream punched the console, denting the metal. Damn Soundwave. Damn Shockwave. And damn Megatron. If Soundwave came to Earth, Starscream's little empire was over. He would be demoted back to Air Commander or worse, executed for incompetence. He needed a miracle. Or a scapegoat. He activated the base-wide comms. All units. Increase search radius. Tear this planet apart if you have to. Find Megatron, or I will extinguish your sparks myself. Miami. Aiken Chemical Plant. Nathan was sitting on a crate of rusted chemicals when the order came through his comms. Priority alert, Starscream. Find Megatron. Deadline, 3 days. Nathan smirked. 3 days. That means Blackout is about to attack Qatar. The movie starts now. He stood up. Squad, he addressed E-13 and the others. Pack up. We're moving out. Sir? Where are we going? Nathan looked toward the Everglades. We're going to find a spider. Then, we're going to the dam. Chapter 25, Chapter 25, Uninvited Guests. Nevada Base. Starscream paced the command center, his wings twitching with agitation. 3 days. He had no intention of finding Megatron. He wanted the Allspark for himself. But Soundwave's ultimatum was a real threat. How did Soundwave know about my new clones? Starscream paused. He looked toward the medical bay. Scalpel. That little bug is the only one who knows the details. Did he leak the data to Soundwave? Starscream's optics narrowed. If Scalpel was a traitor, he would be dismantled. But first, Starscream needed results. If I can't find the cube, maybe I can find the Matrix. He checked his sensors. He still had time for one last sweep of Egypt. Hoover Dam. Day 2 of the stakeout. The sun beat down on the black sports car parked on a remote overlook. Inside his chassis, Nathan was bored. 2 days. And not a single Sector 7 vehicle has left the base. He surfed the internet via his internal comms to pass the time. He checked the stock market, Archibald's account was doing fine. He checked the news, still no Decepticon sightings. My clones must be doing a good job keeping quiet in Miami. He watched a hawk circle overhead, diving toward his car before being spooked by his electromagnetic aura. Come on, Simmons. Send out a patrol. Nathan knew he couldn't wait forever. The plot was moving. Blackout was likely en route to Qatar. If no one leaves by sunset, I'll have to try a different approach. Maybe hack the power grid and force a blackout to trigger a response team. It was risky, but waiting was worse. Miami. Aiken Chemical Plant. While Nathan waited in the desert, his perfectly obedient squad was about to face a test. Despite Nathan's threats, E-13, E-14, E-15, and E-16 were bored. They were Decepticons. They craved violence and noise. At night, they would transform and spar in the warehouse, their metal fists clanging like thunder. Locals heard the noise. Rumors spread. The haunted factory. And where there are ghost stories, there are teenagers. Vroom. 2 beat-up SUVs pulled up to the rusted gates of the Aiken Chemical Plant. 6 high school students spilled out. Sean, the loudmouth in a Hawaiian shirt, Carl, the birthday boy, Alia, the peacemaker, and 3 others. This is it, Carl. Sean grinned. The haunted factory. Truckers say they hear demons screaming inside. Whatever, Carl scoffed, trying to look brave in front of the girls. Let's just get this over with. They pushed open the heavy iron gate. Creak. Inside the main warehouse, deep in the shadows, E-13 froze. His optical sensors zoomed in on the intruders. Alert, human incursion. Count, 6 organics. E-13 cummed the others. We have guests. E-14's voice crackled back. The boss said no witnesses. He said capture them. E-15 growled. He also said don't let them send a signal. The 4 massive robots shifted in the darkness. They were in vehicle mode, disguised as wrecked cars amidst the industrial junk. Sean kicked a rusted barrel. Clang. Hello? Any ghosts home? He shouted. SHHH. Alia hissed. You hear that? A low, mechanical purr vibrated through the floor. E-13 slowly unlocked his door. Let them come deeper, E-13 signaled. Then we close the trap. The teenagers walked past a pile of junk that was actually E-16's leg. They had no idea they were walking into a nest of monsters. And Nathan, thousands of miles away, had no idea his secret base was about to become a crime scene. Chapter 26, Chapter 26, The Space Bridge Plot. Miami. Aiken Chemical Plant. See? I told you. Sean shouted, pointing at the massive hole in the wall. Something big smashed this. Whatever, Carl scoffed, though his bravado was fading. Let's check the main hangar. He grabbed the heavy iron handle of the sliding door. Creak. As the sunlight flooded into the dark hangar, 4 pairs of red optics ignited in the gloom. Alert, intruders detected. Before the teenagers could scream, E-15 sent a priority message to his commander. Nevada. Hoover Dam Overlook. Incoming message, E-15. Sir. We have captured 6 humans in the base. Requesting orders. Nathan frowned. Civilians. Yes. Teenagers. They broke in. Nathan sighed. Interrogate them. Make sure they aren't Sector 7 spies. If they are civilians, keep them contained. I'll deal with them later. He was about to close the link when another priority alert flashed. Incoming secure transmission, Scalpel. Nathan hesitated. Scalpel hasn't called in days. He accepted the link. T-22. Are you at the base? Scalpel's text message was frantic. No, Lord Scalpel. I am on patrol in the western sector. Return immediately. Covertly. Do not let Starscream see you. Why? What's happening? The connection cut for a moment, then reconnected. Soundwave is coming. Nathan froze. Soundwave. The eyes and ears of the Decepticons. Scalpel continued, Starscream has placed me under surveillance. He knows I leaked data to Soundwave.